All right, everybody. Here we are, together at last. It is Monday, July 8th, 2019, and we have to talk. A couple of things. Right now, let's start off with the basics. As I am doing this video blog, stocks are down across the board. Nothing major, but down nonetheless. Let's put a little perspective on that. Just yesterday, and I did a whole video about it, we found out that Deutsche Bank, one of the largest banks on the planet by assets, is now exiting their global equities position. Well, today, Morgan Stanley is warning. They're telling people to sell stocks. This is not Greg Mannarino, okay, for those of you that are going to freak out. This is two major banks here that are warning. I think what Deutsche Bank is doing is a warning. The fact that they are exiting their global sales and trading positions, they're not going to do this anymore, that says something. Now Morgan Stanley is saying, well, you know what, this does not look good. So I think, honestly, when this entire thing does correct to fair value, these two institutions, I guess, should be given some credit here. But I think the bigger picture that people are missing is Morgan Stanley, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. You can go down the list here, Citigroup, and on and on. They're all interconnected. Every one of these banks is doing the same thing, and every one of these banks is dependent on the next one. So if these two banks are now warning that there is a problem, this is really a message from all of them saying, hey, there are problems. And I think if you've been following this blog, nobody out there knows more than you do with regard to what's going on in this market, the yield curve, the round after round of abysmal economic news. Did you hear Goldman Sachs? Let me read this. You're going to love this one. And don't beat me up for this, okay? I know that a lot of people are going to need to go run to their safe spaces now. But this is Goldman Sachs. This is not Greg Mannarino. Although Greg Mannarino has been explaining this since its inception. Here we go. Goldman Sachs. The cost of tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump against Chinese goods has fallen entirely on American businesses and households. All right, so please don't beat me up. This is Goldman Sachs. Call them up and yell at Goldman. Although, yes, I have been explaining this to you since time immemorial, and China is not paying the tariffs. I am not saying that there are not trade imbalances that need to be addressed. I am saying that the president has been going about this the wrong way since day one. But that's a whole other thing. Anyway, let's get back on track. It's pretty simple, people, what we're witnessing here. Very simple, honestly. Stocks, and I want you to keep this in mind. The stock market right now, despite being down a little bit today, we're still very close to all-time record highs. And now you have two major banks telling people to get out of the way, something is wrong. No one's going to listen. You have to understand that. And then when this all does correct to fair value, whenever that may be, okay, because I do not believe that the powers that be here, world central banks, are about to let this drop, especially now during a presidential election cycle. And that's another thing, just real quick. Morgan Stanley sounds just like Greg Mannarino. They believe that a rate cut is coming. As a matter of fact, look, every single bank right now, all of them, believes that a rate cut is coming. So, you know, I'm not alone out here, although there's a lot of people that do not believe it. Well, I don't know why you wouldn't believe it. They have no recourse, no other choice but to cut rates to keep this all propped up. If they don't, then we are at that inflection point now. The stock market right now is only down a little bit, at least right now. Let's see, I'll check for you in real time. Let's see what we got here. Nothing major. Nothing. Dow was down about 100. All right, so 97. Nothing major going on here. The only reason why stocks are not bleeding off hundreds of maybe in 1,000 points is on the hope, okay, this is hopium, that the Fed is going to cut rates, and not just cut rates, but set the groundwork for more rates moving forward, quantitative easing, money printing. Again, our president, and it's not just him, so don't run to your safe space yet, okay? All these world leaders are in favor of zero and negative rates. Christine Lagarde, you know, the felon who's now going to be running the ECB, she's literally a felon. She couldn't work at 7-Eleven because she has a financial crime under her belt, but meanwhile she's going to run the ECB. Well, she's saying that negative rates are good for the global economy. President Trump calling for zero. President Trump calling for price controls. I mean, you can't make it up. But this is where we're at, people. And now we got these two banks, Deutsche Bank and Morgan Stanley, warning that there's a problem. Warning, warning, warning. Well, I think you're a little late to the party. Honestly, you know, you gotta really sit back and say, what the hell is going on here? Honestly, at one hand, we have certain people telling us that the economy is rip-roaring strong, things couldn't be any better, and keeps touting the stock market every time it hits an all-time high. Then we have major banks saying, hold on a moment, maybe it's time to start, you know, minimizing risk. Come on, man. This is just too stupid to be stupid, in my opinion. All right, look, pretty much that's where we are at here. Let's see who else comes down the pike. I mean, maybe it'll be 3 times the chimes. We got Deutsche Bank exiting global equity positions, Morgan Stanley saying to sell stocks. Who's going to be the next one to say it's time to get out of this market? And maybe that'll be the one that starts to pressure stocks. But in my opinion, until the end of this month, the market is going to hinge on what the Federal Reserve is going to do or not do. I still stick to my guns here. We're getting a rate cut, 25 basis points more than likely. Could be 50. It may be 25 set up by another 25. I don't know what they're going to do. I just really honestly believe a rate cut is coming. And I'm not alone here. All the major banks feel the same way. I think anyone that understands, has a real clear understanding of how this works, realizes a rate cut is coming. And let me say one more thing before I let you go. Now, many people do not understand how central banking works. Central banks, all of them, and I've explained this to you at length. I covered this in an interview I just did with Greg Hunter yesterday, which you really should watch. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a link to that interview in the description of this video. The more debt that central banks are allowed to issue, the stronger they become. People, because they don't understand how central banking works, believe that the more debt that a central bank issues, the weaker they become. It's completely the polar opposite. Central bank's product is debt. That's it. The more debt they issue, the stronger they become. And I've been explaining to people, central banks, their goal is very simple. It's to own the world. They're going to become the lenders and buyers of last resort. They've created not just individual debt slaves, but nation debt slaves. Don't you see? How do people not understand this? And there are entire YouTube blogs dedicated to, oh, the Fed's going to be brought down. This is the end. No. Every day that the Federal Reserve is allowed to issue more debt, cut rates, they get stronger, they get more powerful. So when you listen to someone that's trying to explain to you that, oh, this is a grand plan to bring down the central banks, they're listening to someone who has no conception at all about how the central banking system works or the monetary system works at all. So I feel very bad for those people that are being completely misled. They don't understand what they're seeing. And maybe those people that are doing the misleading are doing it on purpose. Who knows? I don't know in this twisted world, but I can tell you that the more debt that world central banks are allowed to issue, the stronger they will become. And they got a boot on your throat. Understand, there are a lot of people that believe that we could just have a debt jubilee. What does that mean? That means that the dollar bills in your pocket immediately disappear. Even if you're holding them, it will disappear because it loses its purchasing power. That's it. Period. The end. They know exactly what they're doing, how they've set it up. Every world leader is playing the same game along with their central banks. So forget about it. Forget about a debt jubilee. Forget about the Federal Reserve coming down. All of the world's central banks, and there are hundreds of them, are doing the same things at the same times with their respective world leader. Wake the freak up, people, and understand what's going on around you, and stop listening to people who have no idea what they're talking about whatsoever. Do your own research. Use your own God-given intellect. Put these things together, and you'll be able to see things a lot more clearly. All right, with that said, I'm going to let you all go. If this has been important, please share this video. Check out the interview I just did with Greg Hunter. Link in the description of this video, and I'll see you all later.